Check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
He's going in, holy shit!
On CABC3, the future of broadcasting. With your host, Darnell Duff.
That ball hit hard. Stretch. Austin Jackson back with something you can. Put it on the board. Yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The First Row Sports Show on CABC3, the future of broadcasting. Got a full booth. We got Daemon Prawn and Andrew Downtown Brown. How you guys doing today?
Morning.
Good.
All right, let's start it off. Quick show before we get back to class. Nonetheless, it's a show. So we know the NHL Awards was last night, and I think all of us can agree that it wasn't really something. If you weren't available to watch it, you're not going to take time out of your day to watch it, but it happened. And let's start with the Hart Trophy. Carey Price won this award. Pretty much won every award possible for him last night. But, I mean, Tavares and Ovechkin were up for it. Did they even have a chance going up against Carey Price, Damon?
I don't think so. Not because they aren't good enough to win it. I mean, Tavares had a great season. Ovechkin scored over 50 goals, which is crazy considering that nobody had 90 points this year. I just think Carey Price's season is all world like that. It's historic. Like the way that he backstopped the Habs to first in their division, second in the conference, like a lot of it was on Carey Price's back. And you take him off of that team, they're struggling to make the playoffs.
Yeah, let's look at their season, Andrew. 50, 22, and 10 for 100 points. 115 points for the first, or highest point total, rather, since their 115-point campaign in 1988-89. Without Carey Price, is this even a playoff team?
I don't think so. Look at their goals for. I believe they were 16th in the league, and I don't know which team it was the last time who was in the bottom half of goal scoring in that league, but still put up. You said 50 wins this year.
Yeah,
upwards of 50. Yeah, yeah. I think that's absolutely amazing, and there's no one who really on that team who you could point out that helped out the Habs. I think, to a degree that Carey Price did.
I think the biggest thing with the Habs too, and me being a Habs fan, I watch all the games. I think a lot of their low scoring issues are because of the coaching system that's in place. They play to Carey Price's advantage, and that's not a bad thing.
No, not at all.
Also, if they didn't play towards Carey Price, I mean, realistically, they don't have guys to be able to not play towards him.
Well, no, I disagree with that. PK Subban is an all-world talent.
Well,
Max Pacioretty is an elite goal scorer.
PK Subban's not going to win you a bunch of games.
He's not going to lose a game.
He's not going to lose you a bunch of games, but he's not going to win you a bunch of games if
Why
you
not?
don't have Carey Price. It doesn't matter if they have PK Subban or not. If they don't have
I don't
Carey
have the
Price,
stats on me, but I can tell you that with PK Subban on the ice, the Habs are in phenomenally better position than when he's not on the ice.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
I don't take anything away from Carey Price. And actually, that's the only reason why I think PK didn't win the Norris this year was because of Carey Price, which is sad because
it's hard to outshine a goalie.
Yeah, and PK's a better defenseman than Erik Karlsson. So for him to win the Norris is kind of a joke.
I think also Erik Karlsson also maybe won the Norris because of how they did at the end of the season. I mean,
yeah, but it's an individual award. It's not a team
award. It is an individual award, but he was really big in getting them to the playoffs. Sure. He had a really good last couple of months.
Yeah, but he doesn't play penalty killing minutes. So how can you be the best defenseman in the league when you don't play the best part of defense in the game?
Well, that's a good question.
That's what you look at Drew Doughty, who is Drew Doughty's all-world defenseman. I don't think he should have been in the running for it this year. He didn't have a great season. Well, Kings didn't make the playoffs. Where's Brent Seabrook in that discussion? Where's Duncan Keith?
It's like Andrew said. It's hard to outshine when you have a guy like Carey Price.
For sure, absolutely. And to me, that's the only reason why PK didn't win a Norris. But back to Carey Price, if the Habs don't play the system that they do, they score more goals. Lots of people say they don't have the talent to score goals. I disagree. I mean, Max Pacioretty put up 60 points. Thomas Plekanec put up 60 points. In a league where 87 won you the Art Ross. That's not terrible. You've got guys like Alex Galchenyuk, who's a phenomenal talent, who struggles in the system that they play because it's so defensive. And I think you look at other teams that play that kind of a defense system like St. Louis Blues. In the regular season, it's great to play that system. Come playoff times, your players are spent. They're tired.
You have to score.
They don't have the energy to do what they need to do in the playoffs.
Well, do we want to call Plekanec's and Pacioretty's year breakout years?
No, I don't think so.
Plekanec's been putting up consistent numbers.
He has
for
been
years
very good,
now.
but
he's kind of like inconsistent in that regard.
He needs to be scoring these many points for the Montreal Canadiens.
You have to remember too, he plays a shutdown role for that team. Like he is their shutdown center against.
He is their
best
shutdown
players.
center.
So for him to put up 60 points when he gets mostly defensive,
but he needs to put up 60 points.
50
to 60. It has to, or else where are you going to get your offense from?
Well, see, Max Pacioretty is your goal scorer. And then you have David Desharnais as your first-line center, which is a joke. Yeah, exactly.
Which is,
yikes. It's scary.
He's the glorified second liner.
Maybe. I don't even know about him.
He's a talented player. He's a talented offensive player, but he's 5'0".
I think he's like a Thomas Plekanec in that matter.
Yeah, but he's not a shutdown guy, though. That's the problem.
He's not, but he will win you those draws when you need him to.
See, and I disagree. I don't think he is the guy that wins you those draws. He struggles in the face-off.
Look it up, Darnell. What was his face-off percentage?
It's not that strong. He if you're going to have him in that position, and I mean, we're kind of veering off into the Habs here, but you've got Plekanec, who should be your first-line center, only because he's the best center on the Habs. That doesn't mean he should be your first-line center. Lars Eller, who should be second to third. That guy wins you draws. That guy's in the corners. That guy is like outside of the fact that he only gets about 30 points a season, only because he plays so much defensive zone minutes. It's crazy. And the amount of points that David Desharnais gets with all the offensive zone starts that he gets is disappointing to me.
Well, Carey Price didn't have to sit down too much longer before he won another trophy. 27 out of 30 first place votes for the Vezina Trophy. He had 144 total points. Pekka Rinne was next with 60, and Devin Dubnyk. Surprisingly, Devin Dubnyk. I guess you got to.
Well, he had a great.
You do have
season.
to put him up there
For
with
sure.
the last few months he played. 28. Carey Price was phenomenal. I don't think there was any question going into this night that he wasn't going to win the Vezina. Well, I don't want to say single-handedly, but it was pretty close to single-handedly leading the Montreal Canadiens.
He did. No, it was.
Where they were in
I'm
the
a
playoffs.
Habs fan, and I'll say it. Carey Price single-handedly carried that team this year.
Well, let's get off Carey Price for a second. Let's talk about Yuri Hudler. It seems like we're a lot on the Canadiens. Let's switch it out to another Canadian team. Yuri Hudler, the first Czech player to win the Lady Byng Trophy. He was exceptional this year for Calgary. Without Yuri Hudler in a Flames jersey, who knows where this Flames team goes. And they were projected at the start of the season to be near the Oilers, 28, 29, 30th.
Yeah, they had a great season.
They had an absolutely wonderful season. They played a couple good games against the Anaheim Ducks in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Just Anaheim was a little bit too much for them. How impressive was Hudler for you, Andrew? Sorry.
Hudler's been great all year, and I'm not going to lie. I definitely didn't see that coming this year. If I had to guess again at the beginning of the regular season, I would have put Flames at the bottom of the barrel, but they proved me wrong, and I just want to say that I thought Yuri Hudler was an absolute beauty at the award show last night. It actually kept it a lot more interesting. Like you said earlier, I would have just flipped the channel.
Well, I find the NHL to be so bland. They hate personality. PK Subban, great personality. They frown upon it. They want to push him aside. Yuri Hudler was great last night, telling jokes. I loved him. Gave me so much more respect for a guy.
They say passing a kidney stone is the second most painful thing in life, and watching the NHL awards is number one.
Yeah, it was so bad.
It is bad. The Flames had a pretty good night as well last night. Jack Adams Award for the best coach in the NHL, Bob Hartley, and
Gaudreau runner-up for Calder as well.
Really
I thought that would have been a good pick, but Aaron Ekblad.
You look at the players for Calgary that stepped up this year: Johnny Gaudreau, Sean Moynihan, Yuri Hudler. They played really well.
Surprised the entire league.
Giordano would put up the points that he put up before he got hurt.
This Calgary Flames team was a total team, though. They didn't have one guy that was absolutely killing you. They had just a total team effort. A bunch of sophomores, rookies, just coming into the game, knew how hard they had to work. They had some
their goaltending.
They had
not
absolutely
great
phenomenal
on that
goaltending.
No, not at all.
Jonas Hiller and
Kerry Ramo.
Yeah,
they played great. They played great. I didn't expect Hiller to fit that role when he came into the Flames. Honestly,
once you get to the playoffs,
I didn't think he was that good of a goalie in Anaheim.
I thought
to
he
begin
was a
with, to be
product of the
honest.
system,
Yeah.
It's just hard for Calgary. We see Jonas Hiller in the playoffs. To get over that hump, he's got to start winning games because he is their number one goalie.
Yeah,
I can't call Kerry Ramo their number one goalie.
No, they're not. But you have to take into consideration, too, that the Calgary Flames are a team that are ahead of schedule when it comes to what they're trying to do with that team. So the fact that they made it to the playoffs, they made it past the first round. I mean, yeah, they beat Vancouver. I mean, everybody
still a
beats
tough
Vancouver.
team. Lots of playoff experience on that Canuck
Sure,
roster.
but your goaltending is suspect. But, I mean, that goes the same thing for Calgary, right?
That's...
You've got an older Sedin sisters going strong.
We could argue that, I don't know, how many teams in the playoffs had suspect goaltending.
For sure. Absolutely.
A lot of the teams did.
I think Calgary, with what they have, like Bob Hartley 100% deserves the Jack Adams Award. Like,
I don't think
I would have voted Bob Hartley too.
Nashville's, but I mean,
Nashville, they're a good team though.
What they did is they got players at the end of their career, paid them not much money, and they were really good, like Ribeiro, Derek Roy. Derek Roy was traded later to the Edmonton Oilers, but he was really good in the Nashville jersey while he was there. They did that system. Pecorine, he's a stud in net when he plays.
Again, I think that's another case where if Pecorine doesn't play that way, they don't make the playoffs.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm actually surprised how much of a blowout this was. I mean, Pecorine was 84 points behind Carey Price. Now,
I'm not surprised by that.
I know Carey Price was phenomenal, but it's the same situation. Nashville, I don't know if they're in the playoffs. Nonetheless, they had almost 50 wins this year.
Yeah.
Pecorine was a big reason for that.
I think Nashville's very similar to Montreal, actually.
And I think they play that same type of... They're a little more offensive because they have guys like Philip Forsberg. Mike Ribeiro is a
James Neal.
Strictly offensive player. There's no.
And he's a good offensive player for
Nashville.
Nashville.
He really is. But he comes with a lot of baggage too, right? So for him to be in the locker room and for them to put up the points that they did this season, like it's an accomplishment.
There's a lot of surprises this season.
Yeah,
I was surprised with Mike Ribeiro. I never really liked the guy, but man, great offensive player.
He is a really smart hockey player. He's just stupid when it's outside of the rink.
Now let's talk about the Calder Trophy, and this was maybe one of the better. I mean, maybe kept us on the edge of our seats as far as who's going to win this trophy. Aaron Ekblad from the Panthers, Johnny Gaudreau from the Flames, and Mark Stone from the Ottawa Senators. A lot of people were wondering, is Mark Stone even really a rookie? I know he is classified as a rookie, but he is 24 years old. Personally, I think this was a two-way race between Ekblad and Gaudreau. Ekblad obviously getting the trophy.
Mark Stone had a great year. He had a tremendous second half, more than a point per game in the second half.
I mean, Ekblad was almost... They were talking about sending Ekblad down to the minors again.
Ekblad putting the season that he did up in Florida, with him only being 18 in probably the hardest position to adjust to out of junior.
We talked yesterday, though. Florida isn't that far off.
They're not.
They are a pretty good team, and now they have Robbie Lou. Ekblad's going to get one more year of experience last year coming into next year. They're really not that far off.
They're an exciting team.
Yeah, there's been a history, though. I mean, I don't want to, shut down Aaron Ekblad here, but there's a pretty big history with sophomores.
Yes.
Or I guess hockey players with their sophomore season, but I can't really see Ekblad actually having a tough year next year, or points declining whatsoever. I remember watching him at the World Juniors for the first time, and just seeing him step out behind that net and make great plays nonstop, looked like a Duncan Keith.
Yeah, he's got a really great first pass out of the zone too.
Yeah, I think he's going to be an amazing hockey player for years to come for Florida, and I think Florida's going to be pushing for a playoff spot within the next couple of years with the amount of prospects they have.
I agree.
I absolutely agree as well. Well, we have a couple other awards. I don't know if we want to talk about them really. Actually, we do want to talk about the Masterson Trophy. Devin Dubnyk, you were really upset before we came on the show talking, why didn't Chris Letang win this trophy after having a stroke last year, coming back to play for the Penguins? Didn't play a lot. He had that concussion, but you were really upset. Tell me why.
Well, Letang, he suffered a stroke. Yeah, he's in tremendous shape, and it is saying it's easier to come back from a stroke is a stretch, but it is definitely less intrusive to come back from a stroke when you're in the shape that these NHL players are in.
Did Letang play after he came back from the stroke last year?
Last year, no, he did not.
That was the end of his year?
That was the end of the year, and then he came back this year, and he put up the most points that he's put up in his career. Most goals, most assists, most
Well,
points.
I don't think anybody's going to question that Letang has offensive. I mean, he's shown when he's healthy,
Oh, sure.
He's
he
a fourth
can
forward
put
on
up
the
points.
ice.
Yeah, no,
He
absolutely.
absolutely
But I mean,
is.
it's not about the points. It's about the fact that this man recovered from a stroke and came back to play professional
But
hockey.
let me give
That's
you,
impressive.
Let me give you the other side of the coin. And Devin Dubnyk, he's went to so many teams. He hasn't. When he's been given a chance, he's been poor. When he hasn't been given a chance, obviously he hasn't gotten a chance.
Yeah, but is that perseverance?
Perseverance.
Or perseverance, sorry.
Absolutely. He was absolutely awful when it was in Edmonton. He goes to Minnesota. The guy had an 18-game winning streak.
It's hard for me to be like, yes, he played tremendous in Minnesota. Their defense is great. Like, their system that they play is less shots, more offense for them. Devin Dubnyk stepping up. He's a big goalie. He's not a bad goalie by any means, but this is a guy that was put into the right situation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nobody can fault him for his perseverance and playing well and doing what he did. He had a great second half. But Chris Letang suffered a stroke and came back to play professional hockey.
I don't think
that is so much different than being an average goalie, joining a very good club, and being good on that club.
Well, were they very
But
good?
he wasn't
though?
good. He was amazing for that club.
Yeah,
Was
sure.
Minnesota
Incredible.
very good?
Their defense? Yes, because
They were out of a playoff spot.
They were,
The only thing that they were missing?
a mediocre team when Devin Dubnyk came in.
Yes, but
So-
only because they were getting below average goaltending.
Well, they weren't scoring either, and I mean, I've watched some of their games. Their defense wasn't
Nope.
playing. You say their defense is so good. I mean, before Devin Dubnyk came in, you watched their games. They were nothing short of not a very great team.
No, I mean, they struggled, absolutely, and then Devin Dubnyk came in and carried them, and like, everything kind of seemed to switch when that happened. Like, Yo was on the outs as far as coaching goes. Like, he was how close to being fired.
Oh, he was freaking out. We all seen that video.
Yeah, and then, like, it just kind of, for whatever reason, it's just one of those situations where everything comes together, and they excelled. Great. Good for them. Like, Devin Dubnyk, great for him. I mean, he's a good guy and all that kind of stuff. But I still can't get over the fact that Letang suffered a stroke.
I don't think you can go wrong here. Whoever wins this trophy. What about
It's
you,
true.
Andrew?
No, I personally, I wanted Devin Dubnyk to win. It's about this year, and Letang suffered a stroke the year before, and yes, I think it's nothing short of amazing that he came back and still played. But how do you argue with an 18-game win streak
It's unbelievable.
and get you into the playoffs? And you know what, Minnesota could have went as far as any other team. I mean, other than maybe Chi-Town, but they lost to Chi-Town this year. That's right, didn't they?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but I mean, any other team, I think they could have made a good run up against Anaheim if it just would have worked out that way in the playoffs. And
I think, yeah, they would have.
Devin
been in a
Dubnyk
better
not only
position.
saved the Minnesota Wild from not making the playoffs this year, but he saved his career, and he's gonna get paid this offseason.
He's going to get paid big bucks.
And that's the crazy thing too. Like, I mean, when we see what he's going to make next year, is he worth that type of money
I think he is. If
Based on-
for half a season?
he's not going to sign with a bad team. He wasn't that great with Edmonton, not that good with Phoenix.
But those are two different stories. I mean, Edmonton, we know what Edmonton does. Phoenix, they
awful
were
defense,
awful last year.
defense, good defense. You put him with any average team in the NHL, the guy's going to do wonders for you.
And he did for Minnesota. Unfortunately, they didn't go as far as they would have liked.
It is what it is.
Well, let's move on to one more award winner, and then we'll move on to something else. Patrice Bergeron, for the third time in fourth year, won the Frank Selke. This was by very narrow margin. 1,083 votes to 1,051 for Jonathan Toews. Do we agree with Patrice Bergeron winning this trophy? I mean, Boston had basically
They had a bad season.
They underachieved.
Yeah, absolutely underachieved. I mean, they had some
Well, I guess
injuries, sure.
Didn't have a bad season, but
Tuukka Rask wasn't the Tuukka Rask of old. I don't know if he's on the decline or what it was. But Jonathan Toews, I mean, he was unbelievable this year. Do we agree with Patrice winning for the third time in 4 years?
I'm not. See, that's one of those things where it's a coin toss because Patrice Bergeron was one of the only bright spots on a Boston team that didn't make the playoffs. I mean, to say that they had, I just said they had a bad season, but they really didn't. I mean, they had 95 points or whatever it was. They were this close to making the playoffs. It's
And after that, I mean, the whole Boston franchise was pretty much GM. The whole
GM fired everything. Like,
everyone was fired.
It's
basically.
funny that they fired their GM because they didn't make the playoffs in 1 year.
Well, I think the big reason being is Johnny Boychuk was out of there, who was
huge,
who's one of the best defensive defensemen in the league.
Yeah, huge.
And you look at the way he played for the Islanders this year, and the story tells it all. But
yeah, Chara's at the point where
Chara's getting old. Yeah,
down.
That's tough for them.
He absolutely looks like he's lost 3 steps. Never mind one.
And they're still a little bit
Lucic
about getting rid of Tyler Seguin too. I think.
Yeah, I think after giving Seguin away a couple years ago and then giving Boychuk away this past off season, I think they were like, well, you made these decisions. If you don't make the playoffs this year, I think this could be your last run. Edmonton, pretty happy about the decision, though. Obviously,
it's a good pickup.
I think he's a great GM. Don't get me wrong. I think he just made a few bad decisions, but really at the time,
I can't say that it was bad at the time. Like, Seguin was trouble in the locker room. They didn't want that around their franchise because it's a winning franchise. They have a winning mentality. They don't want to deal with that crap, so they traded him.
But you bring in an 18-year-old right off the bat,
I agree.
Who thinks at the time maybe
he
has a little bit
of dollars. Like, what do you expect?
He's got a big ego maybe at the time. I feel like every team deals with that a couple times a year.
Every NHL player has
absolutely.
ego.
I mean, if I was an 18-year-old too making $750,000 a year, damn right I'm not going to show up to practice once or twice
all the time.
I'm going to be hungover here and there.
Center.
Now, one last little thing before we move on to the next topic. I was saying, the Edmonton Oilers, you look at them, they probably have one of the best GM head coach combination in the NHL. Peter Chiarelli and Todd McClellan. I know Todd McClellan hasn't taken the Sharks to winning what they want to, although they were up 3-0 against the Kings 2 years ago. But, I mean, he's a great coach. I don't think you could disagree with that. And Peter Chiarelli's shown he's really successful as well.
Well, this is where McClellan will get his coaching chops, right? He's been in a position where he's coached really good teams for a long time. Now he's coaching a bad team. This is what we're going to see what he's going to do. Same thing with Mike Babcock. Same situation. He coached in Anaheim. Great team. Went to a cup. He coached in Detroit. Great teams. Won cup. Now he's coaching in Toronto. And this is where we're going to see where these types of coaches, if they can
You mean
adjust.
Edmonton?
No, Mike Babcock.
Oh, Babcock you're
but
talking
McClellan
about.
from Sharks to Edmonton now. Like, this is where we're going to see what type of coaches they are and if they can adjust to having a roster that isn't as talented as what they've had in the past.
He's got a lot to work with this year, McLennan. I mean, we all know what's going to happen at the draft with that first pick. I think Taylor Hall is one of the best left wingers in the game, and I'm still he's
just got to stay healthy.
Yeah, he's got to stay healthy, and he's got to stay on his feet. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I got a lot of it's true. I got a lot of buddies from Edmonton and I swear every time I go on social media or anything like that after an Oilers game, and they're all complaining about Taylor Hall needs to stay on his feet. Taylor Hall needs to stay on his feet. And when he does, like, he's flying by guys. He'll put the puck in the net on the worst team in the league or the best team in the league, and he's proven it with the Edmonton Oilers over the last couple of years.
He's got a filthy shot.
And, I mean, the hype around Connor McDavid, and we've seen the highlight reel
and I mean,
every week or so.
They really need to bring in some vet presence to that team because they are so young.
Oh, it's so obvious. It's so obvious, and especially on the back end.
Their defense needs
that's said basically every day, and I think Taylor Hall, out of those injuries, he probably would have came back a little bit quicker if Edmonton was in any sort of position, but why come back when your team's out of it? You see that when players want to come back, just like the Blue Jays and Marcus Stroman. He said he will come back when, after an ACL injury, you usually don't come back that same season.
It's different sport. Baseball.
It is a different sport. But if Edmonton was in a playoff position for the first time in
7 years?
So long, yeah.
And
Taylor Hall was in that position.
Yeah, but you look at the injuries he's had. It's not like he's sitting out 5 games. He's sitting out a majority of time.
I understand.
He's injured.
But he could come back late in the season if they were in that position, I personally think. Anyways, let's move on. We got a couple last minutes here. Let's talk about 3-on-3 going to be for the playoffs next year. What do we think about that? I absolutely love this. I think this is going to basically eliminate the shootout.
I've got to say, I don't know how many. I was looking at the articles and stuff like that on Facebook for it, and there's a lot of people complaining that they're not looking forward to 3-on-3, and I don't understand why.
That's silly.
People are like, why not 5-on-5, 10 minutes long? Look at the league.
You're not going to get any goals.
No one is scoring 5-on-5 already. 4-on-4 obviously just goes to shootouts right away. Why not try something 3-on-3 and really see the amount of skill that these guys have? It worked in the AHL last year. I was watching the highlights.
Yeah,
but it's a different situation, right? Because they go from 4-on-4 to 3-on-3.
Is that how? They're going to pan it out?
No, now it's just strictly 5 minutes of 3-on-3.
No, I knew that. But
in the AHL last year, or halfway through, or sorry, the whole season, there was 198 goals on 3-on-3 because they had that 3-on-3 last year.
Yeah.
Halfway through the season this year in the AHL, they already had that amount.
Yeah.
Halfway through the season.
It'll be like anybody complaining that it's a gimmick. It is a gimmick, but it's better than the shootout.
100%.
Now
You got to get rid of the
the
talent.
only problem is
Not talent, rather.
the shootout.
The shootout,
Yeah.
yes.
The only problem is the NHL wants to increase their goal scoring. It's never going to happen as long as you have loser points. Never going to happen.
That's why they have to go to the
The
three-point
NHL
system
needs
like
to
the
go
KHL.
to 3 points. They really do. And like I'm all about history and all that kind of stuff. But every other league does it. No league gives out loser points.
It's true. That's
So-
true.
The NHL trying to get ahead and trying to be one of the big four again, they're not because they won't be until they start getting progressive. Get rid of the loser point. You lose, you don't get a point. I don't care if you go to the shootout. I don't care if it's an overtime. You just don't get a point. You lost. Win in regulation, 3 points. Overtime,
2.
2 points, and a shootout, 2 points. That's how you get rid of the loser, or that's how you get rid of teams that play strictly defensive hockey, because everybody plays to play overtime.
Well, this has been the First Row Sports Show on CABC3, the future of broadcasting. 1 day from now, the NHL draft. Connor McDavid's supposed to go 1, Jack Eichel 2. Who knows what's going to happen after that? Daemon Perront, Andrew Downtown Brown, Darnell Duff. We'll get back to the music. Have a good one.